Buckeye fans, welcome into another episode of the Buckeye Breakdown Podcast. Anthony Moeglin here alongside my partner, former Buckeye Kevin Woidke, hanging out with you on a Thursday night ahead of the very first NFL game. And we are back fully into the swing of things. And for Ohio State, it's an interesting week as they're kind of getting set to take on the Grambling State Tigers. And there's a lot that's going to go into this matchup. And we've talked about it a little bit in past shows of, hey, this one isn't going to be an evaluation against the scoreboard. It's going to be an evaluation against the standard for Ohio State. And sometimes that can be a lot harder to clear than winning a football game. But we'll dive into all that. If you're new to the channel, appreciate you jumping in. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that like button. Drop a comment in if you like what you see. We got a ton of content just like this throughout the week and a bunch of content over the weekends here. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel and checking us all out. But Kev, before we start talking about what's to come for the Buckeyes, this is your first time back on the show since Ohio State's big win over Texas, and you were lucky enough to be in the stadium. And I want to start there. What was it like? Because every clip you see, it looks and sounds like football heaven, and it had to feel like that from your vantage point.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. It was really loud. You know, when you sit, well, one, I had a speaker blaring in my face the entire time, but when
we got to talk about those, dude.
When you're not on the field, it's a little bit. You don't realize how loud it is unless you're towards the middle of the field, I guess. But like when you are down on that field, you hear it all, and it's billowing, and your ears are ringing. Like it is crazy because you hear everything. Everything's focused down there. It's an amphitheater type thing. So I don't even know if I'm using that right. Who knows?
I think you got that right. I think you got that right.
It was awesome. Atmosphere was great for a noon game. I get that it was the biggest game I think ever for week one, but it was booming and people were going nuts. The amount of horns down, and I've seen people like, I didn't realize Texas lived that much, and Ohio State's had it. No, we don't get a chance to do it that often, and if you're going to come in with everyone on ESPN, which is where a lot of people will consume their sports content, which consume it here. But they're all SEC backed. They're all doing all this stuff, talking about how Texas this, Texas that, Texas this, Texas that. I mean, it's the same thing as when Tennessee came down. Like, oh, it's an SEC going up to the shoe. It's like, what do you think's going to happen? Like we're going to give it to you. It's on the field, verbally, doesn't matter.
There's so much good there. And you know, the atmosphere, I didn't really put it together because I got into the stadium probably around 9 a.m. Ish. And, you know, I could kind of see people filtering in, but you kind of get lost. I was doing a bunch of stuff and you just kind of get lost in what you're doing. And then I'm back up in the press box, and you lose the whole sight of the home side, so you don't get that part of the vantage point. And you can see everything. And obviously, I'm not naive to the fact that it's packed out and it's huge, but you also can't hear it all that well. The clip that stood out to me was behind the end zone on the 4th and inches, or the 4th and goal from the inch line, where Ohio State stuffed the QB sneak, and like. It was like field level, person level view, almost like ant level view looking up. And you could just see that whole place going berserk, man. And I say it every single time. Every time I walk into that stadium and every time I am on the field when there's fans in the stands or whatever, I cannot fathom. I don't know how you did it. I don't know how these players do it. I don't know how human beings aren't meant to be playing in front of 108,000 people going crazy, whether it's for you or against you. I just simply cannot fathom that environment. And it was A1 on last Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, we go through it. I remember it was either my freshman or sophomore year. I think it was my sophomore year. Well, no, actually, it was my first year. Going into my sophomore year, Coach Meyer asked Buckeyes fans to show out to the spring game and fill it up as much as we could to give us as players a realistic expectation of what we're in for. And that is just one example of what Buckeye fans will do. I think we had about 80 or 90.
I remember that game, yeah.
I don't know how many showed up. Might have even been over 100. I don't really know. But it was cool to do that, but it just gets you ready. I mean, there's no other place in the country that has that many people that loud. I went to TO North, it was never that loud. Nebraska's the only one that came close. I mean, talk about a booming stadium. If you ever get a chance to go out to Lincoln, it's one of the coolest atmospheres. It is. The fans are crazy. It's as loud if they score the game-winning touchdown as it would be if they're down 42 points and finally score. At least I think it is, because that's how crazy loud it got when they finally scored and all the balloons. But it was it was really cool.
It was so sweet, and it was electric inside the stadium. It also was the most watched game outside of the stadium. It set the viewership record for a week one game with 16.6 million viewers on a concurrent basis through Fox. It peaked at 18.5 million viewers between the times of 3 p.m. to 3:15 p.m. And when I kind of was like trying to look back and match up text messages to play-by-plays to all that stuff, that was about the time when Texas had the ball after they scored, and they were trying to make it a game. Like, Texas scored, Ohio State goes 3 and out, and then Texas gets the ball back. It was that stretch where it was the closest, because truth be told, Ohio State kind of got after it. So it was a really cool environment last week, but I was really excited to get your perspective being there. And really the fallout, Kev, from everything that surrounded that game was that the hype around this Ohio State team and this Ohio State program is at an all-time high. The first, I want to go two ways with this. The first is that this group deserves it, man. When you look back, I wrote a piece that'll come out tomorrow on our site, and a little cliffhanger there. Keep an eye out on our sites for tomorrow. There's going to be some changes coming along, which we're all excited about. But I have a piece coming out that's talking about the last 5 games for Ohio State. And it's 5 straight wins against 5 AP top 10 opponents. Okay. It's Tennessee, who was ranked 9th in the country. It was Oregon, who was ranked number 1 in the country. It was Texas, who was ranked 5th in the country. It's Notre Dame, who was ranked 7th in the country. And then it was Texas, who was ranked 1st in the country. The Buckeyes are 5-0 in those games. And frankly, 2 of them have been close. And it was both the games versus Texas. Kev, that 5-game stretch is simply unheard of, man. You've never seen it before. It's arguably the best stretch of college football ever. And it's come by a group that, it has a very unique culture to it. And it's a culture that cultivates winning, but also is filled with the best players you've ever seen in college football. It's pretty darn cool.
Yeah. I mean, I bet these guys will be the first ones to tell you, last year's great, but we're on to this year. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what's getting lost in this narrative is, yes, obviously Ohio State has been on the best stretch that a school has been on, but it was the ability to reload going into this year, where it's not so much those 4 games to end the season last year. It was this game to come out and showcase that you haven't fallen off. And it's new guys everywhere. I mean, mostly everywhere, but that's the reality. It's a fresh offensive line with the exception of one guy who started every game last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a brand new defensive line. It's got 1 returning starter at linebacker. It's got 2 returning starters in the secondary. It's got a new quarterback, new running back. The group with the most returners is returning starters is wide receivers. And that's where it's like different here compared to elsewhere.
And Kevin, the funny part about what you just said, the group who had the worst day on Saturday was the receivers. They had 4 drops. They didn't look clean. It looked, just wasn't great. It wasn't bad, but Carnell Tate saves the day with that beautiful catch. But like I heard somebody talking on one of the shows I was listening to is, and this isn't a surprise to Buckeye fans, right? Anybody watching this show, this isn't a surprise, but Ohio State's in one of those rare groups that, it's not a rebuild for them. It's just a reload, like you said. And days like last Saturday showcase the depth that Ohio State always has. They come out and you talk about, hey, you're replacing Cody Simon, who's arguably one of the best linebackers in program history, with a guy named Arvell Reese. Nobody knows anything about him. Today, everybody knows about him because he was the best player on the field, right? And it's like, oh, that stuff was everywhere, right? Jermaine Matthews couldn't really get on the field last year, was an inch away from having 2 interceptions on Saturday, right? It's these guys that are like that continually just show up on the field. You don't know their name just because they haven't played, but when you do learn their name, you're like, oh yeah, this is the next great dude at insert position here.
Right. And I mean, like, just think about it. Like, that last play on defense, our best player had to make a phenomenal play because it's really hard to not get a pass interference on that and complete the tackle while the person makes a catch. And he played it perfectly, wrapped him up, and held him, like, in place, basically. The guy extended his arm out. He was still 2 yards short. Like, that shows the culture of this defense. That shows what Matt Patricia's done with this defense, where it's like, hey, it came down to our very best player to make a play. Because I'll be honest, that drag route where Arch missed the guy, there was a huge offensive PI that wasn't called. Mm-hmm. And then even if it isn't, which it rarely is, like, that's probably gone for 30 yards.
Yes.
That's probably gone for 30, 35 yards, and they're inside the 20. But that's where you get lucky on one side, and then the flip side is you got to be good, and that's where Caleb Downs was the best player on the field that play to make the play.
And Kev, it's a perfect point because Coach Day said it in his press conference the other day. He said, the identity of this team, he said you could start to see it, and it's competitiveness and grittiness. That was the 2 words he used. And that play that you just described is both of those words because Caleb Downs was outweighed by the tight end that he tackled by, let's say, 50 pounds. And he stood him up, and he didn't make a big hit on him, but he held him, like you said, and held him in place. And then kind of just wrestled him to the ground because he's competitive. He wasn't going to give it up. And that's gritty. That is Ohio State's best player making the biggest play when his number was called. And there's stuff like that all throughout the tape for sure. Now, the second road I want to take on this topic here, Kev, is you've been in rooms where, or been a part of teams where the hype is through the roof. And sometimes it's always fun for the players on Saturday, but throughout the week, it's hell because the coaches do whatever they can to try to knock you down a peg because you can't have you reading the press clippings. Nick Saban calls it the rat poison, like all that stuff. Like that's now what Ohio State's kind of having to deal with. I am 0% concerned with this group like overhyping themselves because that's just not them. That's not their personality. But it always is kind of a funny balance where it's like, all right, you do all these great things, and then you get into practice on Monday and the coaches just knock you down because you're like, hey, don't listen to what every single person's saying about how good we are. We got something to prove, and we have a lot to prove.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of both. But I mean, like, in a game like this, it's more so they're not really talking about what they have to prove and don't have to prove. It's you got to do your job. This is a game where you perfect everything so that later in the year it is perfect. I mean, I don't know a better term for that.
There you go.
Hey. It's just where you practice it and who you practice it against to get the timing down, whether you're Julian saying in a live game, to get the double teams down if you're the offensive line, to get twists down if you're a D-line. Like, this is where you practice it all week, but practice versus game. At Ohio State, it's basically shot for shot, but you don't get many team reps where you're doing that. Yeah. And you don't get many team reps where you're able to perfectly execute a twist and then level the quarterback. Actually, you get none of those team reps. But that's like, look at Arvell. He ran all the way through on that blitz where Arch took off for like 40 yards to, no, probably not 40, 25, 20 yards on the sideline. But that's an example of him overrunning it. And that's where, in practice, that's what he does. If he beats the center, he runs past him, taps.
Good point. It's a really good point.
Like, that's something where he's got to lock in and be like, okay, I don't have to just tap. Muscle memory might have been to tap the quarterback through all the camp, but now I got to actually start hitting them.
Yeah, I wrote about this in a different story that's going to be coming out too, of the biggest jump you see in a football team, whether it's peewee, high school, college, pro, is between weeks 1 and 2 for reasons just like that, where guys get into that game mode of like, ooh, that was a perfect example. I haven't been able to touch the quarterback all camp. I tap off, I run by. Oh, now I can touch the quarterback. now my rules are different on Saturdays, and that's everywhere. And so that takes us here, Kev, to kind of the next thing I wanted to get into. And we talked about this on Tuesday or Monday, whatever day it was. I kind of went through each position group on the offensive side of the ball and had something on offense to correct. It's going to be a little bit harder on defense because these guys were almost flawless, right? This was as good as you could perform as a defense, and until like the last couple minutes when they kind of started ripping it up the field a little bit. But we're going to go through position by position, and I'll have you start on the defensive line. If there's one guy or maybe one thing that you noticed that, hey, they could improve on, or maybe it's even let's get some depth guys some work in against Grambling, because again, Saturday isn't against the scoreboard. Saturday is against the Ohio State Buckeyes and what they need to do to continue getting better.
Yeah, I think there's a few things. Disengaging blocks in the run game is one as a group, and then two, someone that I think someone I'd really like to see make a jump and make some more plays is our big splash in the transfer portal, Bo Atkinson.
Yeah,
like I expected a little bit more from him. I mean, you had Kenyatta Jackson and you had CJ Hicks rushing off the edge, and you had Bo a little bit, but Caden Curry played a great game. I just think that is someone where I think he could be more of an impact, and I think it's more so locking in and being like, all right, I got the first one out of the way. Now it's time to show out and see. I mean, he's a senior. He's got to make an impact. He's got to make plays if he wants to play at the next level, and this is where it starts.
I really like that. I really like that call, getting him more involved. And it's really hard to lose sight, or it's really easy to lose sight of the fact that, hey, we won all these things. Texas was good, right? Texas, that's a good football team, right? And so that some of those stalemates, I think we can't lose sight of the fact that they're still a top 5 team in the country, and that I get lost in that a lot. But a really good point there, seeing a little bit more on a Bo Atkinson. I'm going to go to the linebacker room. For me, this one's tough because they were awesome. Sonny's awesome. Arvell's awesome. So Saturday for me is to continue for those guys, continue to build off of a great first step, right? You were awesome against Texas. Just don't take any steps back. And it's not going to be – you're not going to see the exotic blitzes that you saw and the crazy coverages that you saw against Texas, because Ohio State doesn't need to do that, and they don't need to put that on film for others to see, right? So I feel like it's going to be much more vanilla, in my opinion. And for those two starters, I'm saying, hey, continue to do your job. Don't take any steps back. And then when the young guys get in there, Peyton Pierce, Riley Pettyjohn, hey, when you get your chance, let's see what you got, right? This is a really good opportunity. And that's what's cool about these games for Ohio State is this gives the young cats a chance to show what they've got. And that's going to be on the linebacking core. It's also going to be in the secondary, man. Like, secondary was great. Caleb Downs was awesome. Jermaine Matthews was awesome. Davison Igbignosin was all over the field, outside, inside. But Saturday, in my opinion, is going to be a chance for the young guys in the secondary to also make their mark. I'm thinking Devin Sanchez. He got a couple plays, and they're talking about him as going to be a guy come the end of the year. Like, hey, get him on the field, build some confidence that you can do it at that level in that stadium, and it starts in places like that. I don't know if there's any other names that you think of in the linebacker or secondary levels, but, some of those guys, I think that they could just continue to build off of what they did on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm trying to think. Not that I can. Think of that. There were some great plays by Jaden McDonald, Edric Houston at the tackle spot.
They're big. Hey, that interior, Kev, is big, man. They're going to be tough to move just in general.
It is, and I think a couple other people. Bryce West and Miles Lockhart, who are both competing for that other cornerback position alongside Jermaine Matthews, are two guys that you'll see a lot of. They only played on special teams, and you'll see a lot more of them in a game like this. And Devin Sanchez had 11 snaps in our game against Texas. It's I see him probably taking almost every snap of the second half if we do our job in the first half.
Yep.
I see Bryce West and Miles Lockhart alternating. Maybe one of them's in a nickel, maybe one of them's not. And then same thing with the safeties. Like, you don't need Lorenzo Styles or Jalen McClain or Caleb Downs to really play. They played 67 snaps. I don't think they need to play more than 25, maybe 30. And then you got people like Malik Hartford and people's names I don't recognize as well, who only played on special teams. And it could be a couple walk-ons that I'm not paying attention to. But yeah, no, that was just one example of some people that, on the offensive line side too. Like, I know we're talking defense, but we've heard about this depth of 2 O-lines. Mm-hmm. This weekend is where we see it.
I went through it. It was much easier to do on the offense side of the ball because I do think the offense left a lot to be desired, to just be truthful. Like, there was a couple drops here and there, like not even Jeremiah's drop. I mean, Jeremiah 2 drops, Ennis a drop, Max Clare a drop in a bad route. Like, there's a couple there. Ohio State rushed for 77 yards on 34 carries. Like, that's got to be better between the offensive line and the running backs. Like, that's not a good number that you want to live on. The quarterbacks, everyone's saying Julian was elite and great as a champion, which I think he did. I do think he left a couple on the field. Like, there's still things that they could have done better on offense. The defense couldn't have played all that much better. Like, truth be told, they couldn't have played much better. They did their assignments. They confused everybody, and it was really, really fun to watch. So there's some guys there that need to do their job, then get out and enjoy, hopefully, a sunny Saturday and a big fun victory for Ohio State. So, all right, taking a look at what Grambling is going to bring to the table. We're not going to spend too much time here. It was very funny. Their head coach today in his press conference was asked, like, hey, what's the mindset going in to the game? And he made a funny comment about how the 2 bands, he said something along the lines of their band has a chance to compete with Ohio State's. And then he said, on the football field, we know what we're getting ourselves into. And very funny, kind of a funny way to approach it. I don't know. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit. Like, hey, dude, like, at least say you're going to roll out there and, give it a chance. But, it's an FCS opponent, first FCS opponent that Ohio State is going to be playing or has played since Youngstown State in 2023. And on offense, a handful of names to keep your eye out for. The first one, the quarterback, Savian Tissett. He's a transfer guy. He came in. He played very well. Now, against Langston is where they won their first game. They won 55-7. They scored 41 straight points or 40-something straight points and took a massive lead. Savian Tissett was 20 of 25 for 3 touchdowns, threw for 203 yards in just about 2.5 quarters. So he came out midway through the third quarter. Rushing the football, Trey Bradford was their leading guy, their leading carrier. He rushed, I have it over here, 6 carries for 56 yards and 1 score. Again, only played a half. And then catching the football, the guy to look out for. He wasn't their biggest receiver or their most yards on last week, but Nicholas Howard's his name. He stands a little bit taller than normal. 4 catches for 41 yards in their week 1 win. A handful of names just to keep your eye out for. Again, not going to be what the focus is. The focus on Saturday is going to be solely on the Buckeyes and making sure they take care of business and do what they have to do. So, Kev, that takes us to the end here. For you, what's a key to the game? Maybe not so much that the Buckeyes win, but going back to what we just talked about, what you want to see from the Ohio State defense when they take the field on Saturday.
I mean, they just got to keep improving. And I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Obviously not in the passing game, but in the run game. Like, they need to start making plays. They got run on a little bit. They did. They got the offensive line did a good job for Texas. Just like, I mean, you see that clip of, I think everyone saw the clip of Hinsman and Luke Montgomery
moving that dude,
that guy on skates. But there were some really good blocks by the Texas offensive line that people were asking a lot of questions about. I don't have many questions about them anymore. I think they're ready to go and they're ready to, attack this year. I was impressed. I won't lie to you.
Kev, it's a really good point. They rushed for 166 yards on 37 carries, 4.5 yards a pop. Like, that's what Texas did.
That needs to improve. Mm-hmm. That right there needs to improve. And I'm not saying 4.5 yards is a lot, but If they let up 4.5 yards a carry again against Grambling, then there's a bigger issue.
Yeah, and you put it in the lens of you let Penn State rush for 4.5 yards a carry, or Michigan rush for 4.5 yards a carry, or whomever. That puts you in a bad spot because you're not going to, when these games get deeper and you get into Big Ten play, you're not going to hold a team to 1 of 5 on 4th down or turn them over. Ohio State basically turned them over 6 times with the 4th downs and the actual turnovers. And 2 of those turnovers came in the low red area inside the 5-yard line. So it's like, hey, they did move the ball up and down the field a little bit, and it just didn't net out for points. So I love that. I love that from you. And for me, Kev, it is get those young guys in there and don't let the standard fall, right? Show that, hey, when you do get in there, that you have the ability to continue to uphold what the Ohio State defense is, because not only does that build confidence for you personally, but that'll build confidence in your teammates and in your coaching staff. So in the event that somebody gets hurt or your number is called upon, that you're ready to rock and roll. And so that's what I'll have my eyes on. But I saw a post today, and I'm curious to get your perspective on it. Games like this are cool because it shows what that next level of guys is. It shows what the young guys can do. And it gives some guys who we may not know their names right now, give them a chance to get out on the field and show them what they're made of.
I mean, yeah, this is where we saw Jermaine Matthews last year. This is where we saw Arvell Reese last year, Caden Curry last year. Like, this is where they showed out. This is where they were like, hey, I'm excited to watch this guy. I'm excited to watch that guy. I'm excited to watch CJ Hicks. Mm-hmm. I mean, Carnell Tate was kind of later into the year, but like, this is where people were like, I'm excited to watch James Peoples. Like, it is just, it's a lot of fun when people usually turn it off when it's a blowout. I enjoy watching it because you see people you don't expect to see, and you see them make plays that, that could be good precursors for the following year.
No doubt. Following year or later on in the year. You don't know when injuries are going to happen. So it's always good to get those guys out there, get them showing what they can do. But we're excited for it. Obviously, today's a Thursday show. Normally we run these on Wednesdays, but you'll see. Keep your eye on our stuff coming tomorrow, and we'll have a couple changes that I think will be great for everybody, which we're excited to roll out. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It is Ohio State Buckeyes on SI. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, drop a comment in. Always love interacting with you guys there. And make sure you're following along on all of our socials and jumping into our written content as well. So as the week progresses on, we got NFL football starting tonight. We got NFL tomorrow. We got high school football tomorrow. We got college football tomorrow and Saturday, and then pro football all day Sunday and Monday. We have finally made it, and it feels so damn good. All right, so for my partner, Kevin Woidke, I'm Anrthony Moeglin. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight on the Ohio State Buckeyes on SI YouTube channel.